there, I'm Stephen Leptak, Executive Editor of The Drum, and this is the latest interview as I speak to the chairs of our awards for the first half of this year. And I'm going to speak to the chair of the Drum Search Awards, Adrian Phipps, Global Search Engine Optimization Officer for GSK. Adrian, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you very much for having me, Stephen. It's a great privilege to be here, and hopefully everyone's keeping safe.
It's a privilege to be in your own home talking to me in my own home. Adrian, what I'd love to do is, can I get you to first of all reveal which entry for the Search Awards this year that you're looking to give your Chairman's Award to?
Okay, it's to the Campaign for Dublin Airport by Wolfgang.
Right. So why did you choose that? Of all the winners this year, why was that the one that caught your eye?
Well, because having worked in the tourism and travel industry myself, and after having discussed this with a couple of other members of the judging panel, this was one we thought stood out, not because of what they did, but rather when they did it. And it was a simple, on the face of it, a simple site migration exercise. But what they did was they demonstrated that you can do a site migration really well with excellent planning, excellent judgment, excellent preparation, and also push the envelope a bit more by involving great UX schema, and also triple your impression share and also quadruple your conversion rate. But here's the rub. They did it during a period where you would typically freeze your IT development. They did it during peak season. So hats off, because you don't normally do that. So they had the balls, and it demonstrates that you can do it without having to wait between May and September to then release a new version of your IT roadmap. So that was one of the reasons they had the guts to do it, and they did it, and they pulled it off, and it was very successful. It didn't stand out as a massive best-in-class winner because it was a very, very structured, organized program. But I wanted to give it recognition because of the fact of how they did it, and it demonstrates really great planning and preparation is key. And a good migration is worth its salt, it's worth its weight in gold. And if you do it right, you're not going to destroy or upset anything. You just need to make sure you know what you're doing and get a great agency behind you to help plan it out. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to work. It's just having the confidence, shall we say, to do it when you need to do it, not when there's an opportunity in September or October, especially for the travel and tourism industry. But that was why we chose it, to give it credibility, credits to its motivation behind doing it.
Why is it something that you don't see very often then? Would you mind explaining that?
Yeah, sure. So in the travel and tourism industry in the Northern Hemisphere, peak season is between May and end of August, September. So what you would typically do is you wouldn't want to have lots of IT systems being updated during that period of time, because not only are people on holiday themselves, so your IT backroom staff or your operations or resources aren't always there, but also the systems generally are being overburdened with people trying to adjust, change, update, and book. So you've got a perfect storm of not enough resources if things do go wrong, and too many people trying to get onto the system at the same time. However, site migration, as this showed, if done properly, is one of those areas where you don't have to risk so much, because it's not actually changing your booking system. It's not actually changing anything that's like an engine. You're just clicking a switch and changing from one hosting environment to another hosting environment. And if done correctly, it shouldn't really affect much, but should have an exponential growth on your engagement and impression share.
I'm glad it impressed you then. Can I ask about
Yeah.
the rest of the awards then? So from your overview of seeing what came in this year, were there any trends or anything that surprised you?
There wasn't a great deal that surprised, but there were some general trends towards trying, I would say, trying to come up with a novel, unique way of maybe looking at like a local search function or local activation or something. That came through very strongly, and that's testament to like Google My Business being improved and local search functions being improved. So it didn't surprise me, but it was a strong thing in the search awards this year, that there was a lot more than there would have been a year or 2 years ago. A couple of years ago, it would have all been about the mobile first. It would have all been about doing specific things like mobile or an app or AMP, shall we say. But this year it was more about local, and that was to be expected. But there were some very strong candidates spread throughout all the different categories.
That's interesting. Then is that something you're seeing, that smaller businesses are starting to improve and mature when it comes to search?
I think, yeah, what I do feel is the ambiguity and the kind of Emperor's New Clothes aspect around search, and that's paid search and organic search, are starting to dissolve as people become more mature and mindful of the power of what it can do. And so they're picking and choosing what they need to rather than what they think they should do. So for a smaller business like an SME, the Google My Business and local search is more relevant than trying to go up against the product big boys, because it's horses for courses. They're never going to beat the big players, but they need to play where their niche is, and they're starting to understand and learn that. Whereas 3-4 years ago, they'd try and go up against the big boys. So, say for example, you're a small engineering firm. You can't go up against Tata Steel, or as an example, because you're too small. But you can go for those niche areas, and you look at search data. You look at the quantifiable research, and pick and choose, and you make more efficient use of your spend, make more efficient use of your budget, and you make more efficient use of where you want to show up. And ultimately, that also is a cyclical process, because it tells Google you want to be known for this specifically and more authoritative, and that will grow your niche base as a result. I think small business users are beginning to understand that.
Mhm.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I hadn't actually heard that to be on any great scale, to be honest. So that is fascinating. Um, and just I can imagine how busy you are over at GSK. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Before we go, then, is there anything that you would say to those working in the search arena right now, who are probably all pretty busy trying to help their companies and clients move along and keep business ticking over? Is there any advice you would have for anyone?
Yeah, I would say stick with the hygiene, stick with the housekeeping, do the basics well still. Do not forgive the basics. We all have our own homes to run, and if you forget the basics, the rest of it soon falls over. You need to keep ensuring that your budgets and your allocations and your resources are aligned to, first and foremost, your core proposition as a business. Try and forget about, in this light or this environment, the big shiny payday thing, and keep building your hygiene and your housekeeping, and be responsive. Okay, so for GSK, we're responding heavily to COVID-19 engagement opportunities and engagement support areas. So from an SEO point of view, that means trying to continue those conversations that consumers are wanting to have with our brands, and that's fine. That's for us. But what we're not trying to do is trying to do some big power play, whiz bang, profile leading platform program activity, whatever. We're trying to be specific to what's required now, but with an eye on building out in the future. So post pandemic, we're still going to be able to be in a strong position to continue that support. And so we're leveraging what we can do now to set us up for the future. And that's the key thing, to have that longer roadmap. And it's pretty much what SEO is about anyway. It's always thinking one step ahead, and maybe 3, 6, or 12 months ahead, rather than here and now, or just the here and now. So that's important, but don't forget, a little bit later, if you've paid for those resources and you assign that budget, is it going to work for you now and in a year's time? Is it still going to be relevant in 2 years' time, or can it help in 2 years? So always think strategically, not just knee jerk. So that's pretty much what I would say is the biggest area of advice I would give to other business leaders and business owners, and for other search aficionados.
Invaluable.
Hope that helps.
Very much for that. No, that's terrific. And thank you again for being the chair this year. I was so pleased when you said yes, so thank you for doing that, Adrian. And thank you to you, the viewer, for joining us for yet another interview. Congratulations if you were successful at this year's awards as well. Take care.